Perfect. Go on, Jenna. Tell us about. Uh, I love your patient disclaimer, by the way. Thank you for doing it. All right.
Yeah, how do I?
No, I can do that for you. I'll just go to
Okay.
page number 2. Here we go.
Okay, so my first case study was with a female who was 60 years old, so she was in her Vata age. The intention and what we were trying to address with this case study was mostly her joint pain that she's been going through. She's a dance instructor with the company that I dance with, and so she's still dancing even though she's 60, which is great, but throughout the years her joint pain has increased, mostly in the hip and in her neck. Lately, she's kind of been reducing her activity because of the soreness that she's receiving, and also because she's category. And for Pita, she has a very forced routine that she tries to follow. I have later on that I wrote down she every night likes to make up her to-do list for the next day, so she's very good with routines. But that doesn't really include her eating habits. She'll kind of eat breakfast at different times. Lunch was kind of similar times, but dinner is very variable because of her teaching and rehearsal schedule. Another thing under Pita is she's very, this kind of surprised me, dessert oriented. She always has to have some type of sweet before going to bed, whether it's some type of sweet tea with honey or a cookie or something. And she enjoys very hot showers. For Kapha, she's lately gotten a little more sentimental and emotional. She has difficulty rising in the morning, will usually wake up around 9, and has had a slight increase in her body weight over the years. So yeah, she's 60 in her Vata, in her Vata age, and it's been about 6 years since she's been post-menopausal. Her Prakriti, I believe, was V2P3K1, but after going through the case study, her Vikruti, it seems like Vata's kind of the same, may have increased just a teeny bit with more of her changes in rehearsal schedule and changes in her routine. Her Pitta has decreased just slightly, more so because her Kapha has increased so greatly. For her peak pariksha, she mostly was Vishamagani, but she kind of was heading towards low Agni, even though it was in the irregular area. Going through, let's see. The only issue that I really had with her on page 4, I think it would be. The only issue I really had going through her digestion form was that even though she's mostly a pitta, she'll only have a bowel movement once a day, and it's usually somewhat later in the morning, around 10, depending on what time she wakes up. Her ama didn't have that much. She said every once in a while she'll kind of notice maybe a small white coating in the back of her tongue, but it's not enough. Even during the case when I was examining her, I didn't see that much of a white coating for it to be something that we really addressed in this study. So she follows a very, this page, follows a very close routine. She'll wake up around 9, has teaching that she does in the morning. Lunchtime is usually around 12:30, which was pretty good. And then throughout the day from 3:30 on until 9 p.m., it's either teaching or rehearsal schedule that she's going through. And so that has a big effect on what time she's able to eat. If she's able to have a break, it'll be around 6:30 that she'll have dinner, which is not that bad, but it's usually after 9 p.m. that she'll be able to have her dinner. She's very good with exercise, being a dance teacher. She takes gyrotonics once a week, will dance about 2 to 3 hours a week, but then she teaches dance, so she's on her feet for at least 10 hours a week. She's taking a few supplements, but she doesn't smoke, she doesn't drink, so none of that has been accounted for. So going back to the case study form, looking at the subdosha in Pitta, there wasn't really that many issues. The most that we were looking at was kind of the eyes. She's had frequent subconjunctival hemorrhages in her eyes, which is like that popping of a blood vessel in her eye, which has been a little weird because she does have low blood pressure. So we are kind of looking into that, but I wasn't sure on what the cause of that might be. For Sadhaka, she does have kind of a low short-term memory, but she said this has been the case throughout her life, and she's bad with names and remembering them. Mostly, though, we were looking at the subdoshas in Kapha. She has morning mouth dryness, and in the morning she'll also have very watery eyes. So based on all the forms that I went through, I felt like it was better to go through a kapha pacifying diet and protocol. Also, based on the facts that she told me, she has a lot of sugar consumption. She's had a little bit of weight gain, been more lethargic, pain in her joints, a little more breathlessness when she exercises. She's been eating a little bit more red meat throughout the past year than she used to, and kind of feels like there's excess tartar on her teeth in the morning when she wakes up. So I told her that she may have increased metadhatu. On the next page, I gave her some treatment suggestions that she could try to work out for that, and told her that she should try to reduce her dessert intake, especially right before going to bed. She said that she always has cereal in the morning, and that can be very sugary, so I told her to try to maybe head more towards oatmeal or eggs or something in the morning. I asked if be able to try to do more calming morning yoga and increase her activity level into more stretching instead of dancing, which she's had to reduce because of her joint pain. And then to go with the sugar, to reduce carbohydrates that she takes, like white bread and toast. I asked if she'd be able to kind of change her eating schedule, making her wake up just a little earlier, more closer to the sunrise time. And then she'd be able to eat closer to the 7:30, 12:30, 6:30 time schedule. Because we're trying to pacify Kapha, but she's still a Pitta individual, I asked to do more relaxing and more cooling yoga in the morning. Try to take more pungent, bitter, and astringent foods. And a low amount of honey would be okay, better than the type of sweets that she's taking at night. And maybe some cinnamon and ginger. And that she needs to routine her meal times better because of the dance in the morning, dance in the evening. That's been very hectic lately. And try to avoid the sweet, sour, and salty foods, oily, heavy foods like cheese, cake, and nuts. And try to avoid canned vegetables and all of the not fast food, the frozen food, kind of quick foods that she can have. And I'll also avoid day naps that she says she'll sometimes have because she'll feel tired and her one break time that she has in between teaching dance. And I think that is it for this case study.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, it's really good. You've done an amazing job, but we don't have to do a case study with, oh my God, I have to find something wrong with this person.
I know.
If she doesn't have anything wrong, she doesn't. So you have to, in that case, you're doing a case study and you're trying to find something wrong and it's not there. You don't have to go through a fine-tooth comb and like, I need to find something now. Okay, so yeah, I mean, everything that you said was very generic and it's great. There's only one thing. Please don't say Made Dhatu, not just yet, because it's not a Made Dhatu issue.
Okay.
If someone has a Made Dhatu issue, they would have cholesterol, they would have arthritis, they would have fibrocystic breast, they would have uterine fibroids, they would have a lot other Mamsadhatu issues going on. So this is not something you've done. You could, excessive tartar, you could say increased earth element or things like that.
Okay.
Increased, yeah, that is about the only thing I'd say. So herein, what is the one issue that stands out? I mean, like, we're not trying to find, oh my God, I got a form that I have to fill, so I have to find something wrong with her. What is the one thing that she wanted out of this?
The joint pain.
Okay, so let's see. Just the joint pain, and then she has low agni, and she has low energy, and she's dancing like crazy, and her vata is gonna go out of balance with all the activities that she's doing. So very simple. If you had given her a routine where she's actually massaging her joints,
okay,
with the an appropriate oil, because she's in the vata age. That's why she's craving sugar and sweets, because she's basically craving sugar and salts, because the joint pain, you want to put, that means her vata is a little bit out of balance. So if you could just address that, the digestion and routine you already addressed, and you addressed the agni. So just doing a routine where instead of taking a very hot shower or a hot bath, she can take a little bit less, because that will dry her joints out, because that's something you mentioned. She loves hot showers.
Yeah.
So she can take a nice warm bath with, Dead Sea salts and things that have minerals in it. She can take, supplements that are like naturally calcified coral, which is a very rich source of calcium, and use Mahanarayan oil on her joints. You know, basically because she's also dancing, and this is going to make her joint pains going to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely want to tell her to use Mahanarayan or Vata oil on her joints. May, if she's open to taking Bala oil, which is very good for joint pain, ashwagandha oil, internally taking ashwagandha, um, Brahmi, because she's also crying and she, so Brahmi, ashwagandha, Vata pacifying diet. Definitely you reduce the sugar. I would not reduce the sugar. She's craving it because her Vata is out of balance, her Pitta is out of balance. So for sugar,
Okay.
instead of doing if she's taking tea with honey, nothing wrong with it. Sugar is not a bad guy, but we can change the way she's getting her sugar.
Yeah.
She gets it from a cooked fruit chutney, for instance, like strawberry chutney. I know you did the mango chutney. That would be fantastic.
Okay.
Homemade mango jam, which is mango is great. Figs, dates, things like that, where it's coming from. She's craving sugar. She's craving sugar, meaning she's also unhappy. Who craves sugar? Unhappy people. She's a little unhappy. So yeah, so don't take away her one happiness. But yeah, just substitute it, because what will happen is she will not take sugar for a week, and the next week she's going to start taking it.
Yeah.
So, when we first start Ayurveda or any kind of holistic health, we are so fired up. Oh, you can do this. I mean, I have given people 24 pages of protocols and they never come back, ever. So, we can't help them because, like, is she crazy? She wants me to give up. Blah, blah, blah. I can't do it. And especially, yeah, this person is very, very, she's pitta, so she's very disciplined. So if you give her, she'll probably follow it very nicely also. And because she loves to dance, and dance is her life, and she's giving, you cannot take away her life, but you can ask her to, take it easy, maybe delegate. So she's sitting a little bit more with her feet elevated. She definitely wants to do a little bit of yoga instead of, what was the exercise you said she did?
Oh, she's
Gyro.
doing gyrotonics.
I have no clue what that is. What is it?
Oh, it's kind of a weight class where you'll be in this I don't even know what you call it, like a gyrotonics machine. And what it does is it connects weights to your legs, so you kind of have that.
All right. Patricia, you raised your flag. Is there any questions? Nothing? So I'm going to take a little 2-minute break, and I'm okay. And I'm going to put in Kirsten's and Farah's case study up there. And you can choose which one you want to present. All right, Kristen, we have two case studies from you. Which one do you want to present? The first one, or there's two? Oh, there's two here. The
Yeah,
fibroids.
um, I can do either one. Both of them are actually challenging for me,
Uh,
so either one will be fine.
Okay, so let's try with the fibroids because it's a little bit more challenging, and then.
Yeah, well, the other one was challenging because they had some genetic, actually, abnormalities. So, which I didn't realize when I had interviewed that person. So, until I interviewed her. So,
Okay,
they're both
but
challenging.
but fibroids is something that we it's part of our course, it's part of our scope because of the estrogen and
Right.
um
So, yeah, why
yeah.
don't we'll go ahead and do this one.
Okay, go ahead.
So, this is actually one of my close friends who is supporting me in this. So, I actually know her pretty well, but I didn't know her when she was younger. So that's what made this a little more challenging. She when we did her prakriti, she was definitely pitta, um, but and she's in the pitta age right now. She's about the same age as I am, in her 30s. Um, and she, as we went through the form and her agni and asking all of the questions, it seemed like her vata had gone up quite a bit. Her pitta remained mostly even, and her kapha has gone up a little bit. She's had, particularly in the vata and kapha area, she's had a lot of weight gain. She said in her younger years she was able to gain and lose weight very easily, which is very pitta. But as she's gotten older, she's gained the weight and can't get rid of it, which is I wasn't sure if it was all kapha or part of that was vata because a lot of the weight gain is in her hips and her thighs, which I know can be related to vata as well. Um, her diet is definitely part of the issue. Regular Agni. She has a strong appetite, but a lot of times, so she tends to like to eat earlier because she gets hungry very easily. But her bowel movements and other things were very variable right now. So that's why I said her Agni is kind of variable. From breakfast, yeah. For breakfast, she used to eat oatmeal in the mornings, and she switched over to smoothies. So a lot of raw things, which I talked to her, that and coffee. I talked to her and said, if your vata is out of balance, then what you're doing is actually probably making it worse by having raw food in the morning, especially with coffee. And so knowing that, part of the protocol for breakfast was maybe we can find a way to get back into the more the oatmeal or cooked type of vegetables, or I'm sorry, fruits and grains in the morning, and maybe not have the coffee. Lunch is very variable for her. Typically, she's eating salads or a variety of leftovers. The ERFL on there, it's something at our office. It's called Eat Right for Life. It's a cafeteria meal plan. It's typically a protein, a carbohydrate, and a vegetable. But still with all of the leftovers and the salads. Salads, again, more vata increasing, and then the leftovers is very can reduce prana. There's no prana in that type of food, so her lunch is not full of prana and life typically. And then for dinner, that's usually her heaviest meal of the day. Her husband is the one that does all of the cooking, and he's very has a very kapha. They're heavy meat eaters, I should say. A lot of oil heavy for dinner, and I let her know that having a very heavy dinner like that, especially with a lot of red meat, is just going to sit in her body, and it's not going to digest well and go through. So part of the protocol I suggested for dinner is to continue to eat cooked dinners made by her husband. I said that's great that you're cooking your meals and not eating leftovers, but maybe lighten up the meals. Maybe, you know, if you can't go vegetarian, if it's too hard for you, at least try to make it fish or chicken, something a little bit lighter. Get rid of the red meat as much as possible. Her activity is pretty low, so I think increasing some activity, but not too much because of the vata imbalance, maybe walking. We had a lengthy talk about yoga, not something she's willing to really do unless it's Bikram. So, and because she's Pitta, the Bikram is probably not the best. Especially on the case study form, I noted that when she sweats, or that's actually up here, when she sweats and the salt from her sweat gets on her skin, it actually causes rashes and burns her. So she can't really sweat much. And she said it started at age 19. And that I wasn't really sure. It sounded like a Pitta thing to me, but I really wasn't sure what would cause that unless she had excess salt in her body. But she doesn't have any high blood pressure, so I wasn't totally sure what would be causing that. But I did suggest if she could do some kind of slower moving yoga, that she should, and if not, then she should definitely take some time, maybe 10, 15, 30-minute walks between the two of us. We can go at lunch every day, just walk around, talk, kind of relax, and then come back to work. Her complaint about yoga is that she gets distracted. She can't concentrate, which told me that was, I can't remember which subdosha that one is. It's Sadaka. Is it Sadaka or is it? Oh no, I can't. I think it is mostly Sadaka. I could be wrong, but she can't quiet her mind during the yoga. So what I mentioned to her is that's actually means that you probably should attempt to do it more, because it's something, considering your mind you have trouble quieting your mind, it's something that can help do that, and doing meditation, starting out slow and then, working your way up. So like you mentioned earlier, Dr. Monica, like 1 minute to start and then move to 2 minutes and then 3 minutes, and just try to start slow. So she does have a little bit of low prana as well. I think a lot of it has to do with her diet. Some of it also has to do with the fact that her daughter is now entering her second year of college as her only child, and so there's a little bit of empty nest syndrome going on there. But not too bad. She's actually dealing with it quite well. So overall, she was diagnosed with fibroids from her physician. She was telling me her symptoms, and it's very classic fibroids. She is on birth control pills to help with the blood flow, because I guess the blood flow is really, really bad when she's not on her birth control pills. And she has been on them since she was, I have this on the paper. She's been on the birth control pills since she was 19, which kind of triggered me wondering if her sweat issue had to do with the birth control pills, just because it was the same time. Not sure if it's coincidence or if it's related. she took a 1-year break off of the pills last year, and that's when they found out that she had fibroids. So it seems to me like with the fibroids, she has excess estrogen in her body, and it's causing these fibroids to grow within her uterus. And so I had given her a protocol of more estrogen inhibiting foods, which would be things like why didn't I write that down? I think it was cabbage, things like cooked cabbage. I don't have them written down, unfortunately, but I also told her, vegetarian. Cinnamon tea would be good for her cold feet, which she's always had cold feet. Reducing the salads, like I mentioned before, increasing cooked vegetables. And for her fibroids, besides the estrogen inhibiting foods, I wasn't totally sure which herbs to go with that. We kind of moved through that sheet a little fast in the women's workshop, and I didn't get all of my notes down, but I was thinking maybe ashtoka or ashwagandha. I could be wrong on that one, though. Oh, there's my writing. So cooked cabbage, cooked squash for the estrogen inhibiting foods. She could, if she's not already putting those in her diet, and to add those in. And because she's has a little bit more of a kapha mind, she's very stubborn. So when I told her about reducing and here's call, let's see how much of it you can do, and she basically told me she wasn't going to do it. So I don't know if that's because she's my friend or what, but that's what made this case hard for me as well. Is I gave her some suggestions and told her she didn't have to do them all at once, but incorporating 1 or 2 at a time and letting me know how it goes. And she basically told me I'm not going vegetarian, and I'm not going to stop eating red meat, and I'm not going to stop eating leftovers. That's how we save money. And she basically gave me every excuse in the book. So I don't know if she's going to take any of the protocols that I've given her, but I've at least given her something that she can use if she chooses to.
Kristen, that's excellent. That's
okay.
amazing. Wow. I don't have anything to say.
Really? Okay, that makes me feel good, because I was very nervous and that I got some of this right, or if I didn't. So
you hit the nail right on the head, but you didn't find out. You said she's gained weight.
Mm-hmm.
And she's kapha. So what happens to a kapha person? Kapha naturally has more estrogen than normal people. And
Okay.
kapha naturally needs less protein. So she has some kapha issue buildup. Number 2,
Yep.
she's been on birth control pill. She was 19. One of the side effects of birth control pill is the sweat and the weight gain.
Okay.
So that's the causative factor. And
Okay.
if she doesn't want to give up red meat, if she has a little bit of stubborn mind, you're kind of like, you're the guide.
Mm-hmm.
So just move the red meat. Say, can you reduce the red meat to maybe 2-3 times a week? And can you move it to the afternoon instead of dinner? You can have fish, and fish is better. And so this is exactly what I would have given: estrogen inhibiting foods, and I would have moved her red meat to lunch and asked her if she could reduce it instead of every day, have it other day. In fact, I wouldn't even have talked to her. I would have talked to her husband, who's the cook of the family.
Yeah, but the problem with her husband is I know him as well, and he's extremely, extremely kapha, and he's a meat and potatoes person. So
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, it's just like my husband is.
Yeah. But the thing is, probably, if you can tell him, it'll improve her mood. And when I have my Indian clients, I talk to the wife, because if the men are being very stubborn, which they usually are, So whosoever's the cook of the family, if they could, substitute the or have smaller portions, if nothing else.
Yeah, and she has seen the progress that I made as a patient of yours as well, and so she knows that it'll work. I mean, she's always trying different diets, and she's tried the MetaFast and all this other stuff, and
Oh dear.
and so I know, and so I'm gonna keep wedging my way in there, but I have to let her have her say as well.
Yeah, but since she's in her 30s and she's been on birth control since she was 19, and she's only taken 1 year break, I would even say the reason she got fibroids was because of the Ayurvedic diagnosis for this is it's block 2 diagnosis. It's called increase of mamsadhatu. So mamsadhatu meaning the muscle tissue in the body has increased, right? And what is the muscles made up of?
The earth. It's earthy, right?
Earth. It's kapha, and it's basically protein.
Protein, yeah.
Yeah. So she has to reduce her protein, whether it's coming from lentils or it's coming from red meat. It has to become lower, and she has to increase. I mean, fish would be the best choice for her if it's possible. And if she doesn't want to give up red meat, at least make it 2-3 times a week.
Yeah, she's actually asked her husband if we can do no meat on Fridays, and so she's thinking about it. But when I was telling it to her, she kind of put a wall up, and so
don't use the word vegetarian. That'll scare people off.
Maybe that's what it was. It could have been that.
Yeah, you scared her off. Oh my God. Yeah. Just say that 70% of your diet should be plant-based and 30% do. If you explain, and I think obviously she's a very intelligent person, if you appeal to her logic, see the causative factor is the birth control, and the causative factor is, of course, there's other causative factors also. As well. So one is there's excess estrogen, and estrogen is also coming from the red meat. Is she eating red meat, which is grass-fed beef, or is she having the regular one? If she's
I think now it's regular. We have a CSA that she's going through, and the CSA is offering, I think, sides of grass-fed, and they're thinking about buying that. So at least if they purchase that, they're at least moving in the right direction. But
yeah. At least because if it's not grass-fed, it's being pumped up with all kind of antibiotics and estrogen anyway. So very typical. Even I have seen uterine fibroids in teenagers, and the reason is they're having milk which comes from cows that have been pumped with estrogen. So not just eat estrogen inhibiting foods, but she must stop her regular milk and switch to I would even say don't take milk. I would take the milk out of her diet at all, because milk is pure protein, it's calcium. So I would just take it off her diet, and milk builds muscles. And we don't want her to build the muscle. We don't want her to build the mamsadhatu because it'll increase her fibroid. I would not be surprised if she develops a fibrocystic breast.
Well, because it's funny you mention that, because I didn't ask her specifically about that because, it was running out of time, but she has, because of her weight gain, she has a very, very large chest.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me either.
And if she keeps on with the excess estrogen, her chances in the future for anybody who's doing this kind of diet of breast cancer is very, very high. So, if you use appeal logic and talk about grass-fed beef versus that it's even the fish is better. Just eating, people in China and people in other countries, they have, fish and they have red meat, but they have very small amounts, and 80% of their diet is vegetables.
Right.
So they don't have those issues that we have in America as much. I mean, they have other issues.
Yeah, I try to take her to lunch. I try to eat lunch with her a lot. So, because if we go out and I'm like, well, we have to go Thai or we have to go here because, of me, and then it makes her feel like she's doing it for me. But at the same time, she's actually eating well for herself.
Yeah, we had, I don't know, in yesterday's class, Tina was telling you her husband came to me with a very, very serious issue, and he
Mhm.
works in a restaurant where they serve red meat.
Mhm.
And I said, listen, you tell me if you want to get well or not get well. And he said, I'm totally committed. And I put him on a gluten-free, milk-free, almost red meat-free. I mean, I said you can have it once a week, and you can have fish. You can, okay, perfect. Go on, Jenna. Tell us about. Uh, I love your patient disclaimer, by the way. Thank you for doing it. All
um,
right.
yeah, how do I?
No, I can do that for you. I'll just go to page
Okay.
number 2.
Mm.
Here we go.
Okay, so my first case study was with a female who was 60 years old. So she was in her vata, sentimental and emotional. She has difficulty rising in the morning, will usually wake up around 9, and has had a slight increase in her body weight over the years. Um, so yeah, she's 60 in her vata, in her vata age, and it's been about 6 years since she's been post-menopausal. Uh, Her Prakriti, I believe, was V2P3K1, but after going through the case study, her Vikruti, it seems like Vata's kind of the same, may have increased just a teeny bit with more of her changes in rehearsal schedule and changes in her routine. Her Pitta has decreased just slightly, more so because her Kapha has increased so greatly. Um, for her peak pariksha, she mostly was Vishamagani, but she kind of was heading towards low Agni, even though it was in the irregular area. Uh, Going through, let's see, the only issue that I really had with her age, the intention and what we were trying to address with this case study was mostly her joint pain that she's been going through. She's a dance instructor with the company that I dance with. And so she's still dancing even though she's 60, which is great. But throughout the years, her joint pain has increased, mostly in the hip and in her neck. Um, Lately, she's kind of been reducing her activity because of the soreness that she's receiving, and also because she's a category. And for Pita, she has a very forced routine that she tries to follow. I have later on that I wrote down she every night likes to make up her to-do list for the next day, so she's very good with routines. But that doesn't really include her eating habits. She'll kind of eat breakfast at different times. Lunch was kind of similar times, but dinner is very variable because of her teaching and rehearsal schedule. Uh, Another thing under Pita is she's very, this kind of surprised me, dessert oriented. She always has to have some type of sweet before going to bed, whether it's some type of sweet tea with honey or a cookie or something. And she enjoys very hot showers. For Kapha, she's lately gotten a little more